Welcome everyone, Jared O'Leary here, and in this video we're going to code the song Hot Cross Buns. Now when starting, we might want to be able to determine how fast our song is going to play, so we can say use BPM and then give it a number. So I'm going to say let's do 144 beats per minute. Next we want to actually be able to say what notes we're going to play, so we could say play and then we could type in a number, or we could actually type in the note names. I'm going to type in the first three notes of Hot Cross Buns. So play E, D, and C. Now, if I run this, it just played all three notes, but it played them all at the same time. So we can actually separate our notes by adding in a sleep. So for instance, sleep for 2, sleep for 2, and then after this one, we'll sleep for 4. So now let's run it and listen to it. Cool, that sounds much better. Now, if we wanted to do a repeat, we could say, hey, do this thing again, 2.times do, and then tell it where to end, right here. But I don't want to use repeat for this. I'm actually going to create a function. Now, the function is going to allow us to call this section or block of code multiple times. So we're going to use it 2 times at the beginning and then 1 more time at the very end. So we're define a function by saying define, and then we give it a name. I'm going to just call it buns. Now, whenever we're doing a function or a repeat that we'll see later, we need to tell it where it's going to start. So we're going to say do, that's the start of our function, and then we need to tell it where we're going to end our function. So now when I actually hit run, let's listen to what it sounds like. Ah, beautiful. Just kidding. So it didn't make any sound. Now the reason why is because we created this thing for the computer and called it buns, but now we didn't tell the computer when to play it. So we actually down here have to call our function buns, and let's actually call it twice. I can't spell today. So what is going to happen in this code is it's going to, on line 12, play buns, which will go through all the way through here. And then when it finishes, it's going to play buns again. So it's going to do that one more time. So let's run it and listen to it now. Awesome. So now the next phrase of Hot Cross Buns has the note C, and it's for a short amount. So it's only for 1 beat. And we're going to tell it to do this thing 4 times. So just like before, you say 4.times. And we need to tell when to start by adding in a do, and when to stop repeating by adding in an end. So now let's listen to it. Here's the next line. Now repeat. Cool. So now the next part, we know if you're familiar with Hot Cross Buns, we're going to play the note D 4 times. So we say do this thing 4 times, play the note D, and wait a little bit in between each one and tell it when to stop doing the repeat. Now, the last thing in our song is it actually does the first phrase 1 more time, the thing that we call buns. So all we have to do is just call buns. Why do I keep adding a C? And then we hit run, and let's see what it sounds like. Line 14. 18, 22. Cool. So we have a song. Now, if we wanted to, we can actually customize the way this sounds. So at the top, we could say use_synth. So this is going to tell it what kind of synthesizer we're going to use. Once you press space after typing that, it gives you a bunch of different options. You can try out any of these when you're creating your own music. I'm going to show you one of them called try, which is for the triangle wave. So let's see what it sounds like when I run this now. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop. So it sounds very different. So depending on what you select for your synthesizer, it completely changes the way your music sounds. In an ensemble, if I were performing, I'd be able to actually shape the sounds to make them longer, shorter, and whatnot as a percussionist. So I'm going to do that by actually adding in some parameters to this. So we're going to tell it to release, which is how long we want it to play, for 2. So that way, while it's sleeping, it's actually going to play this note all the way through the sleep. We're going to do that for each of these. Release for 2. And then this last one, because it's 4, we're going to tell it release for 4 counts. So it's going to last 4 beats long. So now let's listen to our first phrase, bones. So it sounds much longer doing it that way. Now, another cool thing that we can do is we can actually add in effects. So with the effects, it's going to add in some changes to the sound for anything that is inside of the block of code that starts with the do. So to do this, we say with FX, and then when you press space, it gives you a bunch of different ideas of how you can change it, or a bunch of different options. So I'm going to use the echo effect. I'm going to make it sound like we're in kind of like a hallway. So when using the effect, we tell it where to start, just like with the other stuff, and then we have to tell it where to end. So I actually want to apply this effect to the entire song. So I'm going to go to the very end of this and add in end. So now when I run it, let's see what it sounds like with the echo effects applied. Awesome. So I like it. However, I now actually want to go in and add in a percussion part because I'm a percussionist. I like a beat. So I'm going to go into buffer 2. And I'm going to tell the percussionist to play at the same speed, 144. And I'm going to create a loop because I want percussion to just go on forever. So we're going to say live loop, and we can give it a name. I'm going to call this perk for percussion. And just like the other stuff that we were doing, we need to tell it where to start and where to end. Now, right now we don't have anything inside of that, and that's okay. We're going to add to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a sample. So a sample is a recorded sound that is going to play back. And when you press space, you get a lot of samples. So I'm going to narrow it down to a bass drum sound, and I'm going to make it the house sound. And I'm going to add in a little sleep right here for 0.25. Now if I run it, let's take a listen real quick. Ah, yeah, very metal. Now, we can add in a little bit of code, like if spread 1, 4 dot tick. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to spread this out, so that way we actually hear a bass drum on the downbeat of every single beat. So we have our tick, and it's going to do 4 of these for every single measure, and we're going to hear 1 of them going on at a time. So now I'm going to add in some more rhythms to this to make it more interesting. So I'm going to add in a new line, sample, man, I can't spell today. And I'm going to go with the electronic bong sound, and we're going to also create a complicated rhythm by spreading this out every 3 notes. And instead of typing dot tick, we're actually going to tell it to look at this. So it's going to use this line as a reference code and play every 3rd note. So let's hear what this sounds like now. Oh yeah. Alright, so we're starting to get groovy. So now I want to add in one more thing, and it's going to be another sample. And I want it to be the percussion snap. And just like before, we're going to spread this out. But now we're going to do 9, 12. You can experiment with different numbers and see what it sounds like. Cool. So I like the rhythm. However, it sounds like the person is like snapping in my ear, and I don't like that. So I can add in a parameter for the amplitude, which is how loud or soft something's going to be. So if it's 1, that's how loud it was before. It's 100%. However, if I want it to be even louder, you could do like 3, and then it'd be 3 times as loud. Or something like 0.3, which will make it softer. So now let me run it and take a listen. Awesome. So now what I want to do is make it so that we can play the percussion part with buffer 1, which is our hot cross bun stuff. So what I'm going to do is create a new function that actually is the entire song. So we're going to define our function, and I'm just going to call it song, and we got to use a do to tell it where to start. and then we go to the very end of this song and say end. Now, I'm going to run this, and this is actually going to initialize our function. So now Sonic Pi knows that we've created this thing called song, and now we can actually use it to make some music. So let me go back into buffer2, and in here, on a new line of code, because we've initialized it by running the song, Sonic Pi now knows that we can use this thing called song, and it's going to call this live loop at the same time as our song. So let's take a listen. And as I was saying before, the percussion part will go on forever, so I just went ahead and hit stop. So, congratulations, we just went through Hot Cross Buns pretty quick. If you're interested in seeing it, there's a link below that has a slideshow that shows you all the steps that I just took to make this music. I hope you enjoy making music in Sonic Pi.